Hello, and thank you for joining us. This is the Arcadian Telehealth Clinical Documentation and Billing Training. This is for your Aetna clients, and it's on the TheraManager cloud. My name's Brian Jordan. I'm the Clinical Manager for Arcadian Telehealth, and with me today is Russell Rothschild. He's the CEO of TheraManager and will walk us through the training today.
Thanks, Brian. So again, my name is Russ Rothschild, and you're looking at my cloud desktop right now, which is the same cloud desktop that you will see when you connect into the TheraManager cloud. By now, you've all received instructions on how to do that. If anyone has any problems, just contact Brian or myself, and we'll help you resolve them. But the moment you connect into the cloud desktop, you will see this black, pretty standard-looking Windows screen that you see here. In the center of the screen is the TheraManager program icon. I'm just going to double-click it. Okay, and that'll bring you to the login screen. You would have all by now received your logins and passwords, which would be the first letter of your first name in caps, followed by your last name with first letter cap. So for me, it would be R. Rothschild with the first letter R and the first letter R of my last name capitalized, everything else lowercase. Password is the same. Okay, when you forward, you type it twice. Okay. So again, we're looking at the appointment screen here, and we have two drop-downs on the top of the screen. The first drop-down should show your name as the clinician. The second should show the clients that have been assigned to you. In this case, we have one test client, Mr. John Smith, who's been assigned to this clinician, Alan. And if we look at the bottom of the appointment screen on the lower left, we see that this is Alan's appointments for today. Okay, that'll always show you on the bottom what screen we're looking at. In addition to the day view, if we click week here, we can see the week view. Okay, and now the message would have changed to show that it's the week's appointments for Alan. I'm going to switch back to day view. Basically, although TheraManager is a fully functional scheduling, billing, and EMR system, you're only going to be doing two basic functions here for the Arcadian telehealth entries that you'll be making. The first is you'll be entering appointments. The second is you'll be entering notes. Okay. To enter appointments, you log in as we did here. You simply go to the client in question. In this case, I'm going to stay with John Smith. And then you go to the day that you want. You can use these arrows up here at the top to move through the calendar, or you can click on the calendar date here on the pictures of the calendar. And then you go to the time. Let's say I wanted to book an appointment for this morning at 9 a.m. for Mr. John Smith. I would simply go to 9 a.m., double-click my mouse. Booking screen comes up. On the booking screen, everything's already filled out for me. It's a TeleEAP session. It's going to go for an hour. I just hit the book button, and now here's my appointment. Notice the appointment show up in this cayenne blue color. Okay, the yellow box gives you the same information. So you can see we have from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. an appointment for John Smith. It's TeleEAP with clinician Alan, and it was booked by user TM, that's me, on today's date. Okay, if we wanted to book another appointment at 12:15 with the same client, we would simply go to 12:15, hit book, and now we have another. Okay, it's that simple. Switch to the week view. we would see those 2 appointments we just set up are on Friday. Okay, we'll go back to the day view. Okay, that's booking an appointment. The second thing and final thing you'll be doing in TheraManager for now is entering EMR notes. To do that, you double-click the appointment. Okay, once I double-click the appointment, it brings me to the EMR screen, and I see here all of the records to date for this client, John Smith. As you can see, we've been using John Smith quite a lot and putting in some test items for him. To put in a new record, we go to the plus button, and we select the type of EMR note we want to store. There's 5 types of EMR notes, which Brian will talk about at the end of this call. There's a California authorization. There's an EAP case closure form. There's an EAP clinical assessment form. There's an EAP progress note. And there's a non-California authorization. As soon as you click it, you'll see that the form comes into the viewing area. And any of these pink boxes you can type into. Any of the check boxes you can check. And that's it. When you're done, you don't have to save anything. The system auto-saves. You'll see that we've added here on the index an EAP clinical assessment form on August 29th. It's not locked. It's not marked as done. It was put in by this user. When you are done with it, simply right-click in the form and choose Note, Done. This will indicate to the people in the Arcadian head office that you have put the note in and you're finished with it. Okay. To close the EMR screen, we're going to come back in here to show you a few more things in a moment. But to close the EMR screen for now, we just hit the X in the upper right-hand corner. That brings us back to the appointment screen. And we see that that first appointment has now changed in color. This is a very graphical system, from cyan blue to a green checkerboard. And notice it also says here that there's a note and it's done. Okay, so as you're making your updates on the EMR screen, there's a visual update happening on the appointment screen, so the Arcadian team in the head office knows when they can move on and when they can bill for this time. Okay. When I went in the EMR screen the first time, this is an important note, I did so by double-clicking the appointment. That's what creates this link, so that as we make updates, we'll see the updates here. Very important to remember, first time in, double-click the appointment together. Once you've already put your note in, if you want to go back in to make some updates or make some other changes, you can do so or should do so using the menu here. Just click the EMR menu item. Okay, so again, just as a recap, first time in, double-click the appointment. When it's blue, double-click the appointment to put in your note. When it's green, use the menu. Okay, I'm back in the EMR screen. And again, here's my clinical assessment form. Now, just to show you the other options along the top of the menu here, if we wanted to delete this form, we put it in accidentally, we would use the Next button. We click it. Are you sure you want to delete this document? It cannot be recovered. No, I do not want to do that. The next is Save, but since the system auto-saves, we don't really need that. The next is Print. This will send this note, this EMR note, exactly as you see it to your printer. The next is Print multiple documents. Maybe you want to see all of the EAP clinical assessments that you've done for this client in the last 6 months. You can set up a query like that and send all of those documents to your printer. The next item is a copy function. This is very useful. Let's say we had this non-California authorization from August 18th. I click it, and I know that most of the information here will not be changing, but I need a new form today. Rather than retype it all from scratch, I can highlight it and then hit the copy button. Notice when I hit the copy button, it created an identical non-California authorization form with today's date. Same information. I can then go in, change whatever information I need. It auto-saves. And in essence, I've created a new form with new information in a few seconds instead of having to type it from scratch. Okay, the last item to show you, well actually, no, it's a few more. We have a built-in spell checker. So let's say here you wanted to type in the word testing, and you missed the G. You came in test in. You see there's a red squiggly line under it, so the system already knows it's a misspelled word. If I click the little ABC on top, it launches a fully functional spell checker. It finds this first word I had typed here. I'm going to ignore that. Then it finds testin, and it suggests testing as a replacement. And I'll say, yes, please change that. It does, and now the spell check is complete. Okay, so it's always a good idea to spell check your documents before you mark them as done. Next, if you wanted to insert some information, like perhaps at the bottom of the form, today's date, rather than type it, you could either right-click, and you'll find here a bunch of options, like today's date. Click it, and it fills in automatically for you. Or your signature, if you wanted to right-click and choose electronic signature. So this form was electronically signed by this user. So under Insert here, or right-clicking, you'll see some helpful time savers where you can just click an option instead of typing it. Okay. The last item to show you on the EMR form is, in case any of you find these forms a little too small, you can stop them using this bar here on the top right. Okay, so if I wanted to work in a larger font, I can do that. You have to scroll around a little bit with the scroll bars to move around the form, but some people might find that easier to see and work with. The system will automatically open it as large as it can while still fully fitting on the screen. Okay. Again, as a recap, leave the EMR screen. I'm going to hit the X in the upper right-hand corner. When you leave the cloud, and right after this I'll pass you back to Brian, when you want to leave the cloud to work on other things, let's say I want to write some emails, but I'm going to come back in here in a few minutes, so I don't want to log off the cloud, I can just minimize it with this minimize button right here on the center bar. And that minimized the whole cloud. Now I'm at my local desktop. I can do some other things. I can come back to the cloud whenever I want. Okay. When I'm ready to log off for good, I choose Log Out, then Exit, and then down at the bottom, I choose Start, Log Off. Please do not click this X here in the center bar. I know it's tempting to look like standard Windows X, but as this is a cloud server, that will not get you a full and immediate disconnect. The proper way to leave a server is by clicking the Start button and then log off. With that, I'm just going to log back in again for a second. Remember, we always come into the appointment screen. We always see our appointments graphically here. To go back to the EMR screen, we choose the EMR menu. And to see the forms that we can insert, we hit plus. And now, Brian, do you want to say a few words about these forms for the clinicians?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Russ. So as a quick reminder, too, this is the documentation that we're going to be doing for our Aetna members. When Arcadian refers a Ceridian member to you, you're going to do the same type of clinical documentation, but you'll be on the Ceridian portal for those members. So Aetna referrals, we document them here on TheraManager. You're always going to have to fill out for each session either the California authorization or CA authorization or the non-California authorization. The majority of you will all fill out the non-California authorization. Both of the forms are fairly identical, and they're Aetna's authorization and billing forms. The non-CA is for all other states across the country, and the California form is just for California providers. So we need to fill that form out with each session. The other forms that are available are clinical documentation forms. For your first EAP session, you're going to fill out the clinical assessment form, EAP clinical assessment form. We want to fill this out completely. If there are areas that don't apply to your client, you can leave those blank, but we fill the form out completely, and then we fill out the non-California auth form or the California auth form for California providers. For all subsequent sessions after the first session, you'll fill out the EAP progress note form. Again, you want to fill that out completely. There's some radio buttons, check boxes, and fill in the blank area. And you want to fill this out again for each session after the first session. The final form that we have is the EAP case closure form. That's the form that we want to fill out for our final EAP session, whether that's session number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, whatever session that is, depending on the session model and how many sessions you've had with the member. This is the form we fill out for our last session. It gives us information about how the case closed, whether you made a referral, and what the outcome of that case was. Again, we fill it out completely, and if there's areas that don't relate to your client, we can leave those blank. And remember, with each form that you fill out, we always fill out the non-California auth or the California authorization as well. Thank you so much for all of your time.
Thanks, everyone. Again, this training will be loaded up on YouTube. Brian will send out the link to everyone. And if you have any further questions, just give us a call.